Swag out there and bow.
What's going on, everybody? It's Webster Style, the man, the voice, the fragrance. And I'm here with someone who I've been conversing with over the past year on TikTok, and someone who I've been very excited to finally meet and speak to, and is none other than fashionista, burlesque dancer herself, Queen Rose. Queen Rose, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, thank you. It is it is almost the weekend and I have a show coming up actually this Saturday, so I'm really excited for that and thank you for having me on. This is so great. I was very excited when you reached out to me to do the interview because we've been talking for a little bit and this is our first time actually having like a voice to voice conversation. It's
Yes.
great.
Yes, yes, yes. I wanted to reach out to you because I one of the reasons for these interviews is that I like to highlight different types of people. I like to talk to different types of people. I learn things, and hopefully, your audience learns things as well with regards to people's careers, people's style. Like I've, done adult stars, style gurus, comic creators. Just really to learn more about them, more about why they do what they do, and learn more about who they are. So I'm going to ask you. Well, I'm going to preface this um, by saying one of the things that I've noticed about you, at least your online presence, particularly with you being a burlesque dancer,
Mhm,
and one of the things the burlesque dancer isn't a part of it, but it seems like it's more of an extension of the point I'm trying to make. My perception.
mhm.
I love how you're so comfortable in who you are.
Yeah, thank
That
you.
that is something that is from as a engagement point of view, content consumption, that is very refreshing and something that, I guess in many respects brings people a lot of joy. What was your journey like, really becoming comfortable in your own skin?
Yeah, so honestly, I think burlesque was a huge catalyst for that. I will back up a little bit before my burlesque journey just to give you a background because when I first started doing burlesque, I remember when I had my premiere act which was I was Poison Ivy. And that was last year, I want to say April. I had graduated from the New York School of Burlesque. I was also producing a variety show, a local variety show where I also performed that same weekend. So I had like a double show. Um, and prior to that, I was in a choir for many years. I have done like musical theater. I do have a community theater group that I was very active in, not at the moment, but still have a lot of friends, still have a lot of friends that have transitioned over to drag and other communities that I'm also are an extension of where I'm at. And yeah, I think that burlesque came really easy to me because I had that stage background. I'd been on stage since I don't know. I would say my first time on stage was maybe when I was like 5 or 6. I did ballet and tap, and then, um, funny story, which I just kind of healed through because of a really lovely performance that was kind of life changing for me a few months ago. Chartreuse, who is a lovely burlesque performer and has been in the industry for a few years, does this show called Fat Tuesdays. And it- she had a show, I'm sorry, they had a show that was in a gallery. Um, it was, featuring a bunch of nightlife performers, which was also incredible. And very much community. And the reason I bring that up is because it was super cathartic because I actually quit ballet and tap as a child because I was picked on.
Mm,
So I was picked on surprisingly not by my peers but by an adult.
whoa.
Which is yeah, which is really tough. And I think that after doing that show that they produced and I was so blessed to be part of, um I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing something that I was told I wouldn't be able to do, and here I am doing it. And there are people that are so supportive of me, and feeling blessed to see me on stage and embracing me and loving me for who I am.
Right.
And that was so healing, and I'm so grateful for Chartreuse for creating that space for fat positivity. And I think that healing that part of myself was a big, big thing, and that was very recent. That performance is a few months ago, but burlesque has definitely helped me tap into that confidence immensely, and fashion. But I feel like there's also an intersectionality between that as
Yes.
well. So
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful story. And one of the things that I've had the fortune of interviewing a lot of different, in this case, ladies, and
mhm,
asking about that body positivity, about being comfortable in your own skin, but also with where we are now, and how conversations are with um, being healthy, what's a healthy body, what's a
mhm,
beautiful body. We are seeing shifting conversations about that. And I
yes.
guess wanted to know, how has that impacted, I guess, maybe the outside, as far as like the reception of, Fat Tuesdays, or, just anybody doing burlesque, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that I've been very blessed with the producers that I've worked in. They've been a lot more supportive of different bodies, and also different identities. I identify as non-binary. And that's something that is newer for me.
Hmm.
I would say I would lean more towards like gender fluidity. But I feel like a lot of the spaces that you think of with burlesque, people think of like a really thin,
Right.
white blonde woman. Not anyone that has a body like mine.
Right.
I'm mixed, like there's a lot of other factors that come into play with that. But also I'm blessed that I mostly perform in Brooklyn. And I will say that the scene in Brooklyn
Hmm.
is not like anything I've ever witnessed, not only as a performer, but as a patron, because not only do I love performing in shows, but I love supporting my friends in shows. And um it's not just about like, oh, we're creating a space for these folks, but it's also like uh I love these people. Like I'm
Right.
here, loving these bodies and the variations and the differences. And I think that's really beautiful, and that's also made me feel really safe to be vulnerable on stage. And there is a vulnerability to burlesque.
Right.
And I will also tell people my first time seeing a live burlesque show was actually in Nyack, which is, for people that are not familiar, it's a little above Westchester. Not, I would say upstate. For New Yorkers, anything above the Bronx, people consider upstate.
Okay.
So we're like, if it's above the Bronx, it's upstate. But I also have friends in Westchester, and I spent a lot of time out there, and I went to a show. And to see like different types of bodies, to see different representations, not only in body representation and gender identities and queerness, but also in regards to acts, which they had some acts where a person did not take any of their clothing off. They just
Hmm.
revealed parts of their clothing. Some folks just wore, very revealing clothing and just worked with fans, and that was their act. And they didn't, and then you had someone that was doing like a glove peel, and it was very classic
Right.
burlesque. And I was really fortunate to be like, whoa, this is my first show, and I am seeing quite an array. And I remember taking the train back to Brooklyn, and I got off on Grand Central. And I this like warm feeling like washed over me as I was standing in Grand Central, and it was kind of like something had clicked.
Hmm.
Um almost like I would describe, like my heart felt really full, and I said, this is the first time in a long time I feel so excited to really do something, and it felt like something that I had just fallen in love with.
Right.
And it's just, and I was scared because I wasn't sure how the community would receive me. I wasn't sure if I would be embraced for who I am, and who is Queen Rose, and this is before I was even Queen Rose. I started taking classes and with Gigi Holiday, who is incredible performer, number 11 in the world. She's amazing. I love her. I say she's my burlesque aunties because she actually gave me my name.
Okay.
Um and funny enough, to also let you know, this kind of ties into how you and I connected through TikTok. But the reason I even went to see that burlesque show was because I saw a TikTok of a burlesque performer with my body type.
Ah,
Um, yeah, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this person has my body. And
right,
I sent it to like a few friends, and they were like, if it wasn't for their hair, we would have thought that it was you. And I
right,
said, yeah, this is crazy. And it just, something had clicked in that, and then this whole series of events just kind of fired off. And um I will say my whole life, I mean, changed completely since I decided to start performing burlesque. And it's helped me with my confidence. It's helped me as a performer. The creativity, it's like it's amazing. And I will also say, as someone that I do have ADHD,
hmm,
and as someone that has ADHD, I will also say there's a lot of us neurodivergent folks in the burlesque and the drag community. And it's great as someone that has ADHD
hmm,
because I'm tapping into so many little skills. Like, it's like, oh, I'm learning how to, stitch a dress, or sequin
right,
panties, but I'm also coming up with music and choreography and movement and singing if I'm singing. And it's just allowing me to tap into all these creative avenues, and it's just so beautiful. And what a blessing it's
right.
been.
That's great. Now, one of the things that you brought up that I'm glad you really, really went into detail about was about burlesque itself and the different
Mhm,
types of shows you saw. Because I think there is a very big misconception that burlesque is about basically taking your clothes off until you're naked, which is totally not what it is. And
mhm,
I'm glad that you really brought up that point because, at least in my experience, is very much about the art, is very much about the sensuality and the sexuality
mhm,
of it, not so much the nudity of it. Because any burlesque I've ever seen, there's been no nudity involved whatsoever. And I'm sure it can happen depending on someone's set, but
yeah.
that's not the point of it. And so I'm very glad that you were very detailed in what you saw and what really burlesque is. But I want to ask you another question about
Mhm,
burlesque, and this one's relating to your gender identity.
mhm,
You say it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a pretty recent development as far as your journey where you've really come to.
mhm.
How has, I guess, two questions. How, if at all, did burlesque help you really in that journey? And how is that expressed through your burlesque?
Yeah, so I think that in regards to, like, not only my gender identity but also my sexuality, I was closeted for a really long time, and now looking back at my life, there's there's always a 2020, hindsight in 2020, and that, that's what it is. But I really was like, oh no, I'm not queer, but I had a girlfriend in high school. I'm not queer or, pansexual, but I, had a crush on this actress or, whatever. And
Right.
it's I also think that a lot of people associate gender identities with really superficial things such as appearance
Hmm.
and clothing. And I don't need to assign myself to a specific identity or box. And I think that burlesque has allowed me to push those boundaries, as well as like the communities that I've been in. I do a monthly Rocky horror show, directed and produced by Oliver Her Face, who is a drag performer.
Okay.
And they I'm very blessed that they created this space because I have played magenta, which my
Okay.
hair,
I
makes
was about
sense.
to ask who you playing.
It makes sense with my hair, but also I've been the criminologist. I've been Trixie, which also makes sense. As a burlesque performer, I do
Right.
striptease in the beginning, and we rotate. It's a rotating, more or less a rotating cast. But being the crim was like, okay, I'm gonna paint a mustache, and which is so small. It's like a little thing, but also like I could be a woman with a mustache. Like we
Right.
don't, we often associate so many superficial things with gender identity. And even if I came out in, full Barbie attire and I wanted to, identify as, non-binary, I mean that's okay. I think that burlesque and also draglesque, which is, intersectionality between those things, has
Right.
shown me that you can really be who you want to be on stage. And it is an art, and I've been so blessed to be so inspired by the drag community in Brooklyn. There's a huge drag king and thing community, and if people are, I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but that's
Yes.
a term that was, yeah, some people don't know, but for people that don't know, drag thing is a non-binary term for someone that does drag. And then drag king is just someone that dresses in more what we would consider mask attire. But I also know drag kings that wear blonde wigs and, dress like, like I said, like a Barbie or Bratz doll. And
Right.
um I think that that's helped me a lot with doing that. So I'm really fortunate. And I think that it's helped me kind of remove that fear of like, if I step out of this box or if I break this box that I've been put into growing up, in this very, I would say, conservative family, is that mean that I'm not going to be loved? And I think that was a big thing for me.
Mhm.
And I say all that to say that, um, you know, don't don't feel the need to like change yourself. I've been in
Right.
many situations where I've had to shrink myself to fit into those situations. And doing burlesque and drag and all of that, and tapping into those things has made me feel almost boundless. I'm like, wow, what's next? Like I just keep growing as a performer. And um the people around me are loving all these different versions of me and still embracing these parts of me. And it's just so lovely to be supported in ways that um I've never been in my life. I mean, to be honest with you,
Right.
which has been so lovely. So community is huge. The Dragon Burlesque community are really lovely and supportive. So I'm very fortunate.
Even we are what, third layer connected because of that. Just found out.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
it is such a small world. What that's actually, in my opinion, a perfect pin to end it, because that is just such a beautiful, wonderful message. I just want to leave it right there because that's just really something I think everybody should take home. So, Queen Rose, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at on TikTok and also Instagram at Queen Rose of Queens. And Queen Rose of Queens is Queens is shortened to QN, like Nancy Z. That's how we and for people that don't know, that's the AOL names or AIM names back in the day. That's how we used to
Right.
shorten it. So Queen Rose of Queens and QNZ, and that's on TikTok and Instagram. So please feel free to follow me, and you know, I have a lot of things that I'm going to be working on in regards to burlesque and fashion. So keep a lookout. And I would love to help people learn to love themselves a little bit more in
Sounds
whatever
great.
avenue that is.
Sounds great. All her links will be below. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time.